No vote is a throwaway vote. No vote is a wasted vote. Every vote matters. You now have to provide your government issued photo ID. People are forgetting that part. The government hates competition. It's that simple. That's what they do. They hate competition. Ask yourself why.
Canada's political landscape shifting. A two-party pendulum between the Liberals and the Conservatives have left millions of Canadians feeling like they're choosing between different shades of the same government's color. My guest today has spent over a decade arguing that there's a third way, and not the NDP for anybody's thinking, because that's just socialism. And he's now the man tasked with proving it. Derek Elliott is a newly elected leader of the Libertarian Party of Canada. He's the former conservative who walked away from the party when he realized that they just wanted to govern your wallet, your life. He's running for political office, served twice as his party's deputy leader, and just returned from the US Libertarian National Convention in Michigan, where he's represented Canada on the international stage. He believes that minimum wage should be abolished. He believes Alberta and Quebec have every right to leave Canada if they choose. And he believes that Ottawa's new online safety bill is less about protecting your kids and more about surveilling your family. Quote, a failure, which I do as well. And he says that the libertarian movement has been too academic for too long. And it's time to fight back for your freedoms with passion, not just policy papers. Derek, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
So I do have to ask this one question because I ask all my guests it. What is a truth in your industry that people do not want to admit?
I actually was ready for the question. I have it sitting right here. 8,927,906. It's a number that won't sound like a lot to most people. It's going to sound like the lost numbers to a lot of people. But that number right there is how many people that were eligible to vote in 2025 and didn't. That number is more than 400,000 more than any other party got. So it's part of the wasted vote, throwaway vote that everyone talks about. No vote is a throwaway vote. No vote is a wasted vote. Every vote matters. If everybody voted, we could have a much different situation. And I think this is the one that no one wants to admit, that big parties don't want those people voting because they know they don't want to vote for anyone. People say, oh, well, they're just voting for whoever wins. But the reality is they're voting for no one. They're voting for anything. So I think that's a big thing that most people need to realize, is that that's a big number that the big parties want you to forget.
A big part of my learning in all of this and stepping away from government was that if you don't engage with the system will continue to fuck you. Unfortunately, that's just how politics is set up. We're supposed to govern ourselves as a people. So I do want to get a little bit into your policies, but first go into your background a little bit. Can you tell me a bit about yourself?
So, about to be 45 years old. I've been involved in politics since 1998. When I was 17 years old, I was an exchange student in Finland. My friend at the time introduced me to a party there called the Kokoomus Party. Not involved with them now, but they were a centrist party, basically a right of center party. Finland had most of their parties were left parties, and this was one of the few right of center parties. They're a very interesting political system, and that's one of the things that really got me interested in seeing how other countries do politics as well, because it really lets you see that no one country does everything right, which allows me, part of who I am as a libertarian is no one person does everything right. So to say that you can tell other people what's right for them is ridiculous. But that was my long journey to get there. But my part of my long journey was after that I got involved with the conservatives when I got here. I made good friends with a few people. Them two people that are lifelong friends in high school that we were known as the conservatives, because I was a member, as you mentioned, the Conservative Party. And when you're in a high school and people know you as a conservative, especially during Mike Harris era, and I was actually lived and actually learned from Mike Harris being the Premier of Ontario for a while. He was also our MPP because I lived in North Bay. So it was really interesting to start in from the top, basically, right? But I also got involved federally with the PC Party of Canada, which is not technically, if people know their history, the Conservative Party of Canada. Quick, long story short, Progressive Conservative Party and the Reform Party were the two parties that came out from Mulroney's party after the fall of Mulroney. And then the Reform turned to the Canadian Alliance. The Canadian Alliance then merged officially with Progressive Conservatives to make today's Conservative Party of Canada. Progressive Conservative Party appealed to me because their motto was fiscally conservative, socially progressive. Because I never thought of myself as like religiously political. I have my religious beliefs, but I don't let that influence my politics. I don't think it should influence anyone's politics, and it's a very personal matter. So that's where I always was, and that was also right around the time when same-sex marriage was getting legalized in Canada, and which I strongly believed at the time. I still believe, but in a different fashion as a libertarian. Obviously, this is something we can talk about with the policies and how we do things quite differently than the status quo. But that led me eventually to when Ron Paul was running for the Republican nominee for president, I believe 2012. That's when I was like, oh, dang, this is who I am. This is who I've been the whole time. Right. And that's when I started looking in. And at the time, it was Katrina Tone was the leader of our Libertarian Party of Canada. I became a member at that time. Then a gentleman was becoming very popular on the internet at that time as well, named Tim Moen, out in Alberta, Fort McMurray, known as the Libertarian Firefighter to a lot of people. We became really good friends, and he was a leader. I became deputy leader with him. I eventually got married in the Philippines and lived there for a year. So I actually had to step down. This is where the two-time deputy leaders, because when I moved back, I was reelected deputy leader. So it was never a part of being like leaving. It was just I wasn't going to be able to do much when I was in the Philippines for a year, and I didn't know how long I was going to be there for. So, but I got to be in the Philippines as well. Like I said, so Finland, Philippines, I got to see how a lot of those are different. Like most people, if you heard the Philippines, you're going to think government in the Philippines is, oh my God, that's a bureaucracy nightmare, which it is. But in a lot of ways, there's a lot more freedom as well. And I think that's where I'm like, why can some places have more freedom than our country when we're supposed to be all about freedom, right?
That's kind of been my entire take. Like, identify as a libertarian. Before we get anywhere, actually, we should probably define libertarian. Can you give our audience the explanation?
So a lot of people think libertarian means anarchy, which it does not. If we did, we'd call ourselves anarchists. So libertarian means as small government as possible. That's really the best way I can explain it to most people. We want a base government, but we want to emphasize community and localism. So where you have more power over that politician living down the street than that politician living in Ottawa, unless you live in Ottawa, right? But it's this whole idea that we need to have this representation way up there where they don't know what's going on. What's good for Nova Scotia is not good for Alberta. We know this. This is what Alberta's big argument is and what Quebec's argument is. And it shouldn't be that we can support each other without having to do it by force. This is the whole idea. And that's what it comes down to is the big things in the academic terms of libertarianism is individual property rights and the non-aggression principle. So your life is your own. You can do to you whatever you want as long as it does not harm another person. And I always like to use measurable harm as my favorite term because harm to everybody can be opinionated, it can be subjective. Measurable harm is something that can be measured in a court of law, and you can say, I'm owed this because of that. And so that's why we get into the seatbelt laws, things like that. These are the old school libertarian laws that we reject and still do. We reject seatbelt laws, but I always preface that with people that we do I don't have to pay for your health care. If you don't want to wear a seatbelt and you have to pay for your face reconstruction surgery, great. I don't care. But people will be like, what about children? Well, that's personal responsibility. And then your actions have caused harm to another. So it's all about that. It's about the no harm and the individual property right. So you are owner of your own self, you're owning your own property. The government should have a right to say what is happening on your property, what is happening, is it your business, as long as you're not affecting the property of another.
So that kind of leads me into the first topic that I wanted to talk about, which is Bill C-34, because that's holy hell, is that a bad security issue here? I've been bullied and cyberbullied, and I've come to the conclusion that there's no such thing as cyberbullying anymore. There is no way to have measurable harm on the internet. It is a place that you can walk away from, that people are entitled to their own ideas and opinions. But if you think somebody else calling you a name is bad, try being beaten to a pulp, ending up in the hospital, or having a swirly. Like there's a definite difference in harm. So what are your thoughts on what's happening with Bill for and the greater surveillance bills that we're having right now?
So the big thing with C-34 that I have, again, the surveillance is a massive problem. But a lot of people say like, oh, it's great that we're stopping people from under 16 be on internet. I'm like, again, this is what we just said, as you said, like you don't have the right to tell another parent what they're doing right and wrong.
Mhm.
Because there is no one right way or wrong way to raise a child. And that's what I have the big thing. That's the parental right issue on this. The parental right issue is that you don't have that right. That's not your child. If you want to mess up a child or you want to raise it right, that's your thing. If your kid wants to sue you and they get to 18 and can measure like my bills, this is what you did to me. Great, go for it. I mean, that's libertarians. We do believe that. And people say we're lawsuit happy, which we can be, but that's how you
Mhm.
should settle a lot of disputes, right? Have an arbiter say, oh, let's look at the facts. Okay, yeah. And so it's the parental rights being taken away from parents. Like it's your responsibility. If you're not covering that responsibility, that's for your child to say, not for us to say. So the surveillance is not even from the government issue. Surveillance is from the corporate standpoint, which
Mhm.
when you join one of these, as you said, you have the ability to not be on the internet. You have the ability to not join Facebook. I know people are like, oh, in this day and age, go live in a bush if that's what you really want. If you
That's why I
don't
moved to
want
an
them
island.
tracking, exactly. Like you can see who's coming from all ways, right? So it's the big thing of personal responsibility. Stop making them do things for you that you're just not willing to do yourself because you have no self-control, right? It's the same thing why we have drugs legal now, or well, at least marijuana, and why we believe all drugs is because you have responsibility of self-control. And if you can't stop your kids from being online, well, you're going to have to take the responsibility of that. It's not the government to say this. But the bigger aspect where you're saying the surveillance is, and this is what I brought up last night, people are like, oh, it's great that kids have to, like, well, one, the VPN stops that, right? Like,
Yeah.
I just sign up, I'm in France, they don't have a age restriction, blah, blah, blah. But the big one is, how do they know you are not under 16? Oh, you now have to provide your government issued photo ID. People are forgetting that part. The adults have to provide ID. They're 35, right? So it's like they are
Porn's
good, but
a testament to that, right?
well, it's not even that. Like this is my favorite thing. Like porn, you have to know how to find it on the internet. When I like to talk about this growing up, that the government has good intentions, but it's backfires because this is a little bit of a personal information of myself. But there was an old show back in the day. I'm not sure if it's still on, but on Fridays and Saturday nights in Canada on Showcase Network, they had the Showcase Review artsy movies. It built my love for the indie art movies. But also, they would do a little talk intro like we did at the beginning here, but then they put the warning on. And that would always be like, warning, the following program contains coarse language, mature subject matter. But then there would always be like nudity, sexuality. Oh, I know to watch now. Like, it's not like a warning, it's do I need to waste my time? Like, this is good stuff, right? Like, when you're a 12, 13, 14, 15-year old and you're telling me that, oh, there's sex in this, great, I'm going to watch that. It's not, my parents I had a TV in my room. Like, this is
Same.
where I say, like, if you don't want your kid to have access to that, take the TV out of the room. You're a
Mhm.
parent, you have the ability, but most parents are like, well, I don't want to deal with the negative. Like, you, I have to stand there with my child sometimes. Do you think I don't like standing to my 3-year old like this, right? I don't like being bad dad. I love my kid loving me, but I got to be bad dad to teach him to be good son, right? Like
Mhm.
you have to do
They
that.
This was one of the values that I realized later on in life, that you need to suffer the consequences in order to truly understand your actions. Like my first video on this channel was me apologizing for all of the bad actions I did in college to my friends, because I realized after the fact how much pain and how much suffering I caused them through my own actions. And then I had to reflect on that and become something different, where I became the weird Canadian. Why, what point did we stop wanting to actually parent our children?
I think there was a point where society is like, oh, government's really there to help us. I think it was post World War II, right? Where people were coming home. I've got this land now. I fought for my country and now they're taking care of me. So I think that bred the baby boomers into the government is there for me. The government takes care of me. They're the reason I have what I have. And some of it's true. I'm not saying that that's not true. Like those people deserve what they got. Some of them made the ultimate sacrifice, right? And we can never repay them for that. So, but I think the big thing is goes back to what makes libertarian, and it's the fraud, coercion, and force. We want to help people, and that's where a lot of people get libertarianism wrong. Is they see us as selfish because we don't want to pay in to that government system. But we do, but not the government system. We want to go into an efficient system called charity, right? Like that's helping people. You can't take the moral high ground and you're saying, oh, I help people. No, you voted for a government to take money from people that you can't convince on your own to give it. That's what you did. That's not morally right. That's called theft. Like if I went to my buddy in my house and said, hey, you know the people down in apartment 3 downstairs? Yeah, they really have a lot more money than the two of us. It'd be really good if you went down there and took that TV, right? Right. It'd be benefit to us, right? That's theft. That's a gang, right? It's organized crime. But when it's government, it's charity. It's caring. No, it's not. It's and not even to mention the cost, right? Because a lot of people forget the programs that we do through the government that can be done through charity. One, all those people are not volunteers. They're paid QP salaries, right? Which is not cheap. That's not market value. That's enhanced value. Then on top of that, you have a middleman that gets paid to take the money and give it. So you don't have that in charity. You have your money and you give it to charity. So you have now shown that this is the quickest way to do it, one. And two, I can say, oh, I don't like what you're doing. I don't like that you're giving money to those people or those people. I'm going to stop giving you my money now. I'm going to give it to them. You can't do that with government. So that is where you can create that change. And that change is something that libertarians push all the time. It's called free market economics.
People don't like capitalism. That's the thing. People don't like capitalism. But
But people hear money and they hear greed, but
mm,
you don't need to think about it in the money sense. Think about it in any sense where it's just like, oh, you got something I want, I got something you want. Let's trade for that. The government's like, but what about us? You have to give that to someone else. Like, oh, but I can just give that to them. Like we can get together and be like, oh, we have this extra that we don't need. Let's give that to someone else. People, that's not capitalism, right? That's called community. So people can dress it up whatever you want. If you use cash, it's capitalism. You use goods, it's communism, right? Like libertarians don't believe in there, or actually we do believe. We believe in capitalism, but we also believe in communism. That's what people think is the biggest misnomer of libertarianism, actually, is that we're far right. We're not far right. We're far right, we're far left, we're center. We're not authoritarian. We believe in no one telling you what to do. Where there are conservatives that aren't authoritarian, but there are conservatives who are authoritarian. And that's usually libertarian conservatives that aren't authoritarian. But it's we're a very wide spectrum. We're probably the biggest umbrella, and that's probably our biggest downfall as well, is because it's trying to keep those people all together. And that's how you mentioned that I was at the US National Convention in Michigan. It was really interesting to see how those different parties really interact. I've been to our conventions. They're I don't want to put our party down. Again, we're a much smaller country than the US. And also their party is the third biggest party in their country. So seeing all these wide variety of people that I've been to a conservative convention and we're all the same, all right? Our difference is I see people from different countries, but they all are the same kind of people. Where I have never been to a political convention and walked through just outside the floor and walked into the tables and be like, that's a strong smell of weed, man. Like, and I'm not, and nothing against it, but, and like, of course, if you're going to smell it at a convention, you're going to smell it. But like, I've seen people do it at conventions here in conservatives and liberal and libertarian conventions, but you walk on the floor and smell it, you're just like, and no one's just like, no. I'm like, I'm still in the United States, right? That's what really got me is that it's the states that actually happened in, but it's seen they have all these tables, they have the opossums, they have all these different varieties, and that's what actually made me more proud is that all these people are coming together for a similar goal. They want to live their lives. They want to have their sides. And I don't want to take over too much. And I know you got some more questions, but we mentioned it earlier, the marriage. So one of the big things that we believe in that's a lot different is how we go about marriage. People are like, do you believe in same-sex marriage? And when I say no, they get taken back. They're like, oh, you're conservative. I'm like, let me finish. I don't believe in any marriage from the government.
Mhm.
That's not a government issue. They shouldn't be charging you for the right to get married. If two consenting adults, three consenting adults, four consenting, I don't care how many people want to enter into a contract that's mutually beneficial to everybody. That's what that is. I think marriage is a benefit like a contract. That's all it is. If you want to have a ceremony in a building that has special meaning to you, that's on you. If they don't want to let you, that's on them because it's their property. And so
Mhm.
that's where the problems come is government's creating the problem. They're creating the division. They're creating the division because of they're like, oh no, you need to have our permission to do this. Well, now these group has to ask for permission because only this group has it. By just not having the ability to ask that permission, libertarianism succeeds and society succeeds. And you see people come together and the division ends and we become community. And that's what I keep pushing back is that we're all about community. It's about
Mhm.
local community, local, local, local. And this is why when we talk about, you mentioned the separatists and why we believe Alberta and Quebec, it's not that I believe that I want them to go. I
Yeah.
don't. I want a Canada that has a federal government that is so small and doesn't interfere at all that no province wants to leave. They are their own sovereign nation within Canada. And that's the
That
big thing. And
was
then
that was the original purpose of Canada, was to come together as a central community to support every community across every province. I'm in Newfoundland now, and I worked for the Ministry of Transportation in Ontario for about eight plus years as a software engineer. I didn't realize it at the time, but I had to leave for my mental health because everything I saw was waste, fraud, and abuse. They didn't want to change. They didn't want to track. They didn't want any accountability on themselves, but they wanted more control over the citizens, mechanisms for tracking the data outside the organization, but not themselves. I actually was told specifically to not build metrics into one of our applications because they didn't need that data. And I'm like, but you shouldn't want to know what your workers are doing and how well they're doing it, no? And they're like, that'll just cause problems down the road. And
maybe it
it's
should.
that's what I'm trying to elaborate, or what I'm trying to allude to the general population is it's structural. It's not even party anymore. It's across the board. It's every organization. A little bit more context on me. My family runs a not for profit for Cuba. We send down supplies, get donations from people all across Canada and the US now to send stuff over that they need for medical supplies and food and water and just general life necessities over there. And we've requested from the government a few times some help, and they refuse to do anything with us because unfortunately our banks are so heavily tied to the US and the US has an embargo on it. We've actually been debanked because we're operating out of Cuba. And it's just these structural issues that, like, we're trying to help other people out of the generosity of our own family, because my parents have been going there for 20 years. They have family there basically. They would move there if they could. They love it so much. But we just wanted to help. We started in COVID and we realized how bad they had it have it there, and pure on socialism. Like that's how that started. And
Hmm.
don't get me started on Avi, because holy crap is he going down that rabbit hole, and the fact that he speaks about Cuba without understanding anything pissed me right off. But just that we have these structural problems, and I don't know if people don't see it or they don't want to see it. I have a few reports on this, but we have 40% of our population being paid by government spending. And that goes, there's 21.5% of actual, like, people we hire to pay for government, and that's all levels of government. Then that's another like 10 to 15% of consultants and spend on that. And then we also have like the old age security, which pays from government salary. So that level of population, I don't know if it's fear or they just don't understand.
They've come to expect it, right? They're like, this is the only way I can get a good job. Like when I was growing up, I remember I was told if I wanted a good job, it was the auto industry, right? Like I grew up in Southern Ontario. That's where you're sort of like, if you get a job at a car plant, boom, your family's taken care of. You're gonna have a pool in your backyard within 5 years, right? Like it that's not the case anymore, right? And it's like because people are I think the auto industry is actually one of the better examples. It should have died. Like I know people are gonna hate and we could lose a I don't speak on what's going to get me votes. I speak on what we believe in. That's what we say. We're the party of principle, right? I'm not going to lie to people. I did this in North Bay about the pipelines. I believe in the pipeline. If it's on private property, you don't have a right to stop what's on private property. And this is what it all comes down to. It's just you can't hide behind this. The auto industry was bailed out by the government. If I'm running a business and I know if I fail, the government's going to give me money, what's the incentive?
If you're a podcaster or a video creator, this is the all-in-one AI video editor you've been looking for. I've been using Async since day one, and it's amazing to watch it progress into a complete powerhouse for creators. Especially for people like me who, well, can't edit for shit. Async leverages AI to give you total control over your video. You can record, edit, generate clips, add subtitles, and even dub your content in over 15 languages. Plus, it lets you upscale your footage and easily repurpose your content for different platforms, all without ever having to switch between different tools. It's truly a game changer. So if you want to streamline your workflow and make your editing process painless, check out async.com today. The link is in the description below.
Not to fail. There isn't one. It's the same thing with our social safety net, where I bring that up. Like, now I will open up about my bias. I already mentioned being in the Philippines. I'm married to a Filipino. She was born in the Philippines. She has immigrated to Canada after we got married. So I don't hide this, but that is my bias on immigration. But it's not that impacts my decision on this. Immigration is not a problem in Canada. The social safety net is a problem in Canada. You eliminate that social safety net, the government money that protects you and gives you that benefit of not having to work and just mooch off the system. You still think we're going to have people lining up in droves to come here? No. People that are going to line up to come here are the people that are going to do a better job at your job than you. And if you're afraid of that, that's on you. That's a you issue. We should want Canada to create the best products, the best industries, because if we're doing that, we're going to attract the best. And that means everyone's good. People were like, it's cultural, this, cultural, that. My favorite thing that I love with those people is, what's a Canadian? I will always ask that question to people. They're like, I want Canada for Canadians. What?
I'll give you my response after this.
Yeah. My response is that it doesn't matter. If you've come here and you're a citizen, you're a Canadian. If you contribute to us the same way we do, you're a Canadian. I don't care what your religion is. As long as you're not pushing that religion onto me, you're Canadian. That's the whole idea. My favorite thing about being Canadian and living in Canada is that I can walk down the hall of my apartment building and smell 5 different ethnicities of food every night. That makes my stomach growl. Yeah, my house is one of them. But that is one of the best parts of Canada, that we have that at our fingertips. We don't have to travel the world to get to these things. That you have people are like, oh, I don't want to go down to certain parts of Toronto. Then don't. All right. Mm-hmm. But I will, because that's going to be some good ass food. And the people are going to bring you in and they're like, what can I get for you, sir? Come back next time. Like the people that talk about, I admit, I go over the States regularly. I live in Niagara Falls, Ontario. I go over there. I can't get cosmic brownies in Canada. I need my cosmic brownies. Okay. So I go over there. We get a few things that we can't get in Canada. It's not that we do groceries because it's not cheaper for gas and groceries over there anymore. But it's like, oh, don't go. They're gonna do this to you. They're gonna do that. You know how nice the people are when we're over there. I have an Ontario plate on my thing. It's no mistake of who we are, but they're great. I will give this one quick story though before I'll let you do the thing. That when we go to Sonic on a regular basis, Sonic Drive-In, it's a food chain in the States that we don't have here. And you can literally go into the stalls and car hops come out on roller skates to your car. And they're like, do you need anything, sir? And they have the apron. And I was given the plastic straw for my drink. And I'm like, I'm a Canadian. Will you give me as many of those plastic straws as you're willing to give me? And he's like, here they come and here you go, sir. I'm like, I love you. Like that's customer service. And they knew, they laughed about it because they're like, yeah, I know why you want these. Like, I got to smuggle them in, man. We don't get these. So to me,
Fun.
that, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. So the fun fact is we actually make those straws and we ship them down there now. That's a
Yeah.
fun fact there. But I used to live in Fort Erie, so I completely understand what you're
Yeah.
talking about. We moved out here 2 years ago because like we needed something different. We just kind of hopped on a plane, and now I look out at a bay. It's like $1 million view. I paid $300,000 for it. Beautiful. But I've never had an issue in the States. We had more issues coming back from the States, being Canadians going over there because did you spend your limits? Did you do this? Did you have that? And it's like they don't care when you go across, but they care more when you come back. It's a different way of being, and I think they're I don't know where I was going with that, but it's just a matter of like they don't
The
care.
fear. Yeah, no, they're not
Yeah.
the people, the everyday people over there are like the everyday people here. We're just friendly people that we just want to chat.
Oh, I remember. I was going to give my response to
What's a
what
Canadian?
Canadians are. Yeah.
Yeah.
The way I've been seeing it lately is a Canadian is kind. A Canadian will always stand up for their beliefs and they will push for those beliefs. However, they are willing to step back when they are wrong. They are willing to admit that they are wrong and change their mind. We used to be a country that prided ourselves on being morally respectable by understanding when we are wrong and saying sorry and going on with our day. All throughout history, we have always tried to be the good guy, try and do better. Even our banking system started out as the American system, us being like, this isn't going to work for everybody. It's bad. Let's build something similar but different. And I think we've just kind of lost that history along the way. And say now we are a kind people. We are no longer, or we are a nice people. We are no longer a kind people. And it hurts me to say that.
You just said a phrase that I think is actually, I never thought about it, but probably is the best way to describe Canada and Canadians as a whole. Similar, but different. Any country, UK, we're similar, but we're different. The French, we're similar, but we're different. The Americans, we're similar. Thankfully, we're different, right? And nothing against America, but again, like I think that's probably the best way to describe Canada. And it's the way we are. Like we take pride in being a place where you can feel at home, but it's still a little bit different. And I think that's what we were talking about, the difference between multicultural versus melting pot, right? Like
Mhm.
people people say fit in or get out. That's one of my least favorite sayings I've ever heard. And because I was raised on, you don't have to fit in, just don't force others to fit in. That's the true thing. So what you're really doing is being the most, in my opinion, un-Canadian thing, telling people to not be themselves. You don't have to like it. You don't have to say like, oh, I'm not going to change what I'm doing here. No one's telling you that. I know people think they are, but just let them be. Again, there are bad people from a lot of countries that are here. I am not denying that. There are people that came in on a system that should not have got in here, but I also don't want to blame the people that took advantage of a system to give themselves a better life as well. That's my bias. I know where that's coming from. I see the Filipino community here. That's what they want. The people that are coming here, they the Filipino the sacrifices these people do. Like they live in a house with 6 people. None of them are related because they're sending all that money back home. Now, do I like that that money's leaving our economy? No. But if you look at the GDP of the Philippines and look at how many, it's called OFW, overseas foreign worker. They literally categorize that income. And that's a major part of their GDP, that money coming in. And that just shows that how far their community has spread. And now, are they taking over the world? No. They're just giving us good customer service around the world. That's really what they're doing. Now, and I love them. I think I would tell people and I say this openly. I would, if I run a business in Canada, I would hire 100 Filipinos before I would hire one Canadian that was born in this country. And it comes down to, I don't say that as the color of your skin either. It's a cultural thing, a work ethic. Because I used to work at the casino here in Niagara Falls, and we were sitting around. 2 people that started at the same time as me were both Filipino. One born in the Philippines, one was born here. And we were all talking, and I'm like, man, you really aren't that Filipino, to the one that said that was born here. And the other one just looked and it's like, are you kidding? You're more Filipino than he is. Like, I think that was one of the greatest compliments of my life, that he's like, oh, you're more Filipino than that guy is. But it shows that it's all about embracing a different way of thinking too. And that's one of the ideas that, again, I bring it back to what I said at the beginning about getting to travel and being a libertarian. Is it allowed me to see that there's no one right way. And by allowing the communities to come together, libertarianism allows that voting system, and all those decisions come down to the local community. And what that allows you is that if you don't like what your community is doing, you leave. This is where I was also mentioning about the communism and how we do believe in communes. If you are there voluntarily and people can come and go as they please voluntarily without force, that's allowed.
Mm-hmm.
That can be one small community. And then if you want to be part of that, you have the ability to go there, which is a term that not a lot of people know about. It's an economic term called economic migration. We were like, people too much. I'll give this example. I can't remember the girl's name. She was on X complaining about how she can't find a job in Toronto. Her experience is in the energy sector. I asked,
In
what?
Toronto.
Yeah. So there was a company that apparently she worked for in Bay Street because she was from there. And then they laid people off. Obviously, why? Because it's Toronto and you're in the energy sector. So I'm like, oh, well, how many jobs have you applied for in Edmonton and Calgary? None. I don't want to live in Alberta. But
Come
why
on,
did you
we
get a
need them.
job in the energy sector? Yeah, but it's just like you could get a job tomorrow. They'll pay to move you out there, but you're not willing. And this is the entitlement, right? Where if you're just willing to move to where the work is, where your skills are valued, one, the housing will be cheaper. Two, your
Mm-hmm.
pay will be higher. What does that mean? Your cost of living goes down. If everyone did this, guess what happens in Toronto? The housing rates come down, right? So all these things just start coalescing and working together when we stop having government as the answer. I'm not sure how much longer we've got, but one of my favorite things is I like to say is that stop looking to the government for the solution to the problem they created. Every problem that we are talking about today is created by someone asking the government to solve a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Their solutions create the problems. So the solution today is tomorrow's problem. And if you just let the market do its thing naturally, things will happen. Yes, people will fall. That will happen. And it's sad. But if as a community, we can come together and have the money to lift people up when they fall, they will be encouraged to do better. Because people are like, what's the difference between that and welfare? Because there's one big difference. We don't have to help that person. So if they're a dick, we're not going to help them. If you're a racist and they're of a color that you don't like, you don't have to help them. I'm not saying that's right, but then you are a racist and you're in help now. Guess what
Mm-hmm.
we're going to do? We're not going to help you because you are a dick. So it sounds crass, but I'm like,
No.
if you're a good person, people will help you. If you're a bad person, you get what you deserve. And it's like, everyone deserves love and compassion. No, I'm sorry. Not
Mm-hmm.
everybody does. And if you're if you got kids that are of no fault of their own suffering, we'll be happy to help them. But we're not going to let you get your nails done and get a salon and get that new Ford F-150 just because you think you're entitled to it.
That entitlement really gone too far in Canada, especially like even the younger generation doesn't really want to work for anything anymore. This was one of the things I tried to get a co-op student to help me out with this channel. And there was a company, I don't use that company. I'm trying to get my money back from them because every co-op student they sent me was just somebody who was like, oh yeah, I'll do it. And then they ghost me. And it's like, okay, what am I supposed to do here? But when I was growing up, it was work for everything. You have to show your worth. You have to do shit in order to get the benefit. One of the main reasons I jumped in the government was because my mother was like, you help out and you'll get rewarded for it 30 years down the road. Now I'm understanding that the 9 to 5 is really, really a bad route. But doing my all and then seeing my coworkers sit around doing nothing and getting paid for it really, really affected me, because it's like, well, I'm trying to do better. Why can't you? Um,
Yep.
and I'm a dick. I'll give it that. I'm a dick to people, but you have to be a dick to me first before I'm a dick to you. I even now, like, I'm working as a tourism consultant or coordinator for my town, because when I first moved here, my neighbor was at my door telling me where things were, what things are, all about my house, all about the town. He
They
made me
know.
feel welcome, right? He made me feel part of the community immediately. And one of the reasons we moved out of Ontario was because it was, you don't know your neighbors, you don't try and help out, you just do your own thing, you stay inside, you don't talk to anybody. And there's so much economic activity that could be done out here. Like, I wrote a whole report on tourism being the next boom. We have no tour guides, nobody to take people out in the forest, no people to like go kayaking, no people to view the water. And that is a great opportunity for anybody to just come out here and start a business and be successful, because there's nobody doing it.
And there's no excuse not to with Viator. Like you can literally sign up right now on Viator and be a tour guide tomorrow. Like it's
Mhm.
that simple. I worked in travel as well, so that's how I know. Like, and Newfoundland is a big one, especially right now. Like again, people need to understand there's also a bubble going on right now as well, East Coast and West Coast and Alberta, because people are going to start going back to the States. It's going to
Mhm.
happen. But it's been something that people can be like, what's working? Okay, let's keep that. That's how any boom's supposed to work. You get all this stuff, and then it fades down back to this is what's needed. Like, we're going to throw all this against the wall. This stuck. This is the community. And people are like, oh, well, our community is dying. Why is it dying? Oh, the mill dried up. Yeah, so move. Like, that's what you have to do. People are too emotionally connected to the roots, and I get why, but this is again, I'm going to go back to like what I've learned from being married to a Filipino is that your family and community is wherever you want it to be. Like my
Mhm.
wife talks to her sister every day, but they're half a world apart. Like her, when her brother was alive, like the four of them, the four siblings would literally talk every night. He was in Kuwait. Youngest sister was on a cruise ship. Their oldest sister was in Davao City in the Philippines, and my wife was here in Niagara Falls. And they did that every day because you just have to want to be connected. And there's so much as you say, you can do so much. And it doesn't
Yeah.
require a lot, but a lot of people are like, I want to have that 50K. I want to start traveling. Like, you happy with what you got. Like, everyone wants to, like, people thought the American dream meant not that I can be anything. It's I will be anything I want to be. That's the problem. Like, you can be anything you put your mind to is a reality, but you
Mhm.
have to actually put your mind to it. Not that doesn't mean like I'm going to be an astronaut. There, I put my mind to it. No, you put your mind to it by putting your mind in those books and studying and becoming a scientist and going through the work. You like people talking about the CEOs, all these things. Like people think CEOs don't do anything. CEOs started from the bottom in most cases. Yeah, there were some that were inherited the company, but these people worked their way up and they
Mhm.
have done all these things. And it's like obviously the big news right now is Elon Musk became the trillionaire, right? Everyone's talking about that like, oh, no one should have it. Doesn't have $1 trillion. This is the problem that people are voting on economic policy that don't know anything about economics. A trillionaire means they are valued at having $1 trillion. Even if they sold everything they had, they still wouldn't have $1 trillion. That's not how it works. It just means he has the ability to invest, that he can put more into these companies. And people talk about like the government that helps them. It's like, it's because the government's a customer to Elon, right? Like, yeah, do
I
I think he should be getting all this tax dollars? No. But if they were doing it properly, they wouldn't have to go to the private sector to do it for them. Like,
I was talking to somebody online about that, and they're like, "Well, he took all this money from the government." I'm like, "Yeah, but he gave them services rendered. Like that's how it worked. They paid him for his services." But it's just, it doesn't click in with certain people. But it does kind of go into one of the topics I wanted to ask you about, because one of your political policies is to remove all of the government owned buildings and things that we don't use, we use, but use being a key term. COVID really showed us that the government does not need to be in a building to operate. And then on top of that, we were told we were the most productive we've ever been as a organization, and then brought back 2 years later because it's unproductive to not be in the office. Why are we paying for these buildings?
We're paying for it because of one, the heritage. Like a lot of these buildings are very old, right? I don't think that means anything. Like a lot of people, obviously in Ontario, the Royal Ontario Museum was the big issue, right? On Doug Ford selling off the building. Do I agree with how they do things? No. I think obviously that's a very conservative way of how they handle the situation. My whole idea is just privatize the whole damn thing. And if it can't be, I'm gonna throw back to a famous line that I heard, and I think I like this is where my honesty comes in because I've learned it from my history. One, like I said, Mike Harris made a comment once, and I really respected when he was asked, "Hey, is it true that you drank underage when you were in high school?" And he just, "Yeah, of course." And they were just so taken aback, like, "You admit to it?" It's like, "Yeah, I was a teenager in high school. I drank." But following Mike Harris, Ernie Eves was the leader of the Ontario PC Party. And his wife was actually a very big executive at TVO. And so the big issue was, would you sell TVO? And his answer was so blunt and so funny, people thought he was going to get a divorce because of what he said. He's like, if I thought I could get $1 for it tomorrow, I would. Right. And it's just like the reason why a lot of them don't sell them off is because they can't sell them off. So, the conservatives are like, well, we're not going to sell it off, so we'll just keep it going. The libertarians like, it makes no money, get rid of it. Like, don't sell it, just shut the doors down and get rid of it because it's
I want to
costing
buy
money.
I want to buy the rights to Coors and all of the collection because I want to bring back some of those old TV shows that they have. Like, so one of the reasons I started Weird Canadian is I'm trying to make a new media company, something that protects the creative and stops people from doing like Hollywood and taking away from these great stories because they're too much money to make. These stories are what bring us together. These stories are what people look forward to. It's content to understand things. It's how we tell our stories. It's how we showcase moralism, how we live our lives. We are a culmination of every story we've ever consumed. And to have the greed get added to it, I want to build this company up as something that can protect that. And I know there's other ways to monetize stories. You don't have to make these paid things that go out to the world. You can give your content for free and you monetize the merchandise, you monetize the backends, you monetize the creators, you monetize the interactions with your fans.
Multiple stream.
Yes. And we're starting to find that out, but still in this old model of sell the content, not the behind the scenes stuff. So I'm trying to build this up. I'm now looking into a public benefits corporation as well, so that my vision, my morals can be solidified in the company. But I want to get back to giving the story for the story's sake. I'm an
I
anime
will
fan.
say I have a TV video production and I went to college for it. Like you can see a lot of my videos and I've taken inspiration. I've watched a lot. Like again, even before I was like I said 98, 97 is when I got into politics, but really I've had influence since I was a kid. So I still remember with my grandparents sitting there watching the Royal Canadian Air Farce on CBC with my grandparents. Like I can recite the damn stuff still to this day. That's the ADHD reciting the stuff. But at the same point, what I don't like is one, obviously the tax dollar is going to. I don't like that. I'm a big fan of creative, and you said we have so many creative minds in this country, not just before, but today more than ever. But and we have those stories that need to be told. And stories a lot of people said that need to be told were, you probably remember them, the heritage moments that we were always saw on television that networks were forced to put on by the government. They had to air so many. It is such a propaganda, whether they were factually correct or not. It's so propaganda. When I was an exchange student in Finland in 1997, 98, we were at a regional convention. If you know about Rotary, each district has their district conferences. So the 18 of us in our conference were at this, and 8 of us were Canadian out of the 18. I think 6 were American and the rest whatever. But those 10 were looking at us in the back of the bus when we were doing some little tour of the small town, like we were insane because we were so bored. We were reciting word for word the heritage moments. You know how crazy people look when you hear them in the back of a bus saying, "Doctor, doctor, I smell burnt toast." Like we literally could do them word for word because they were ingrained in us. I'm like, that's propaganda. That's not one, entertainment, and that's not of value to people, in my opinion. Do I think there is value in learning that history? Absolutely. But as what you're saying is so much better where it's independent. You're letting the market decide what do we want to remember? What do we want to learn about? And I think one of the greatest things that it, I think we're far enough removed that we can, now that we're coming close on the 25th anniversary, we can do the jokes about it that it took 9/11 to make Canadians or Americans patriotic. But at the same, almost at the same moment, what did make Canadians patriotic? What got me this flag? The I Am Canadian commercial from Molson Canadian of My Name is Joe. And I'm not bashing it. Still to this day, one of the greatest Canadian commercials of all time. But who did not produce it? The government, because it's not talking about, it's just talking about what's proud of being Canadian. And I think that goes back to what we were saying earlier of what is a Canadian. And it just showed all these random things that it's not this, it's that. It's similar, but different. Right. And I think that's comes back to like what we are as Canadians. And that showed, it spoke to the people. And that's literally what we are pushing as libertarians is the free market. What speaks to the people? Supply and demand is the ultimate key in everything. People say that's greed, but it's not. It's you. You're deciding. When you get the government out of the way of protecting those corporations, you decide. You're the final decision maker with your dollar, right?
Your dollar is more of a vote than a vote ever will be. It's funny. It's funny that you bring up 9/11 because I have to give this now. I have to say this to my audience. It is the 25th anniversary of Come From Away. So please come out to Newfoundland and come see what we have to offer.
Please.
Helped out during that time. Gander and all of the surrounding area here took in all of the flights that were supposed to go into New York. There was thousands of people stranded here and everybody let them into their homes. They offered them support. They offered them beds, food, everything that they needed. And it's something that they celebrate quite big out here. And it's the 25th anniversary this year. So yes, we want you to come and celebrate. But that's just another just a testament to how Canadians used to operate.
Not even used to. I think we're still that. We are there. That is the big, what I love to use that as a great example of what happened there, because how many of those homes were people forced to take someone from?
Sorry.
Like, not, that's okay. My cat's somewhere, so at least he's not that loud. It's no one person was forced to do that. They did that because it was the right thing to do. And it's like, we don't need the government to make us do the right thing because it's the right thing to do. Yes, as you said, there's assholes. There are going to be assholes that won't help, but they're going to be pushed aside. They're going to be pushed away. And that's the key. Is like personal responsibility comes into a key, and you have to let some people fall, unfortunately, for personal responsibility to kick in. And it will be unfortunate when those people fall, but it's time that we need to start letting people fall again, unfortunately.
Seeing what's coming up to the last, I just want to ask like probably one final question. What do we do? How do we make this better?
So what we need to do to make this better, and it's my biggest job now as leader of the Libertarian Party of Canada, I'm going to do a full circle. That again, I need these people. These people right here need to get out and vote. Stop thinking your vote doesn't matter. Your vote matters more than anything in this world. And if we can get to a point where one of the things we want to push, we say as libertarians, like people are like, you guys have done nothing in 50 years. We disagree with that wholeheartedly. We have not elected an MP in 50 years. That's 100% correct. But marijuana is legal in this country. That was one of our policies day one. Before anything anyone thought it was. We push those parties to us. Listen to what Pierre Poilievre is saying. I don't believe a damn word he's saying, as my video I put out today said. But what's he saying? What we say and what we've been saying. And that's the key, is that we know what needs to be done. We just have to keep pushing it. We need to show these people need to come out and start voting for those other parties. And one of the things we want to push those other parties to do, like the two big ones, is a ranked ballot. And there's a reason. Ask them why they don't want it. Because it benefits us. Because it stops that wasted vote argument. All I need to do, for people that don't understand, a ranked ballot instant runoff system. We have what's called first past the post. First person to get the most votes wins in a riding. We think that's ridiculous because there's so many ridings where it's like 33 versus 32%. What we want to do is a ranked ballot instant runoff means the first person to 50% of the vote wins. How that works is if after the first round of balloting is counted, they don't have 50%. They take whoever has the least amount of votes and take them off. And all those ballots, whoever you put that person as number one, whoever you vote as number two now gets the votes. If we still don't have, the next person gets taken off and the next lowest vote gets put on until someone gets 50%. We have one little added that we like to do as libertarians. It's a very special thing to our heart called NOTA, or none of the above. And so a lot of people ask, how would we institute that into a ranked ballot? Very simple. Especially in Canadian system, it's really easy to do. If NOTA gets 50% first, an automatic by-election is called for 90 days from that date, where every single candidate is disqualified from running in that by-election. So the voters have decided we don't want any of these people. And we said candidate because we don't want people being running as an independent and having all that money from the Conservative Party supporting them again. Then the Conservatives are like, we're just not going to run a candidate in the by-election, and then their candidate happens to be the independent. Like, we're not stupid. We know how that would happen. So qualify the candidate, that person cannot run in that by-election. They can run again later on, but that by-election, they're disqualified from. And that way, you give the voters the ultimate say. There is no wasted vote at that point. If you're saying, you know what, I really like what the Libertarians are doing, I want to give them my support, but if they don't get it, I kind of want the Conservatives to beat the Liberals, which is what a lot of people say. That's your ability. Vote us number one, Conservative number two. If we get taken off the ballot, your vote's going to the Conservatives, right? It's or Liberals or whatever it is you want to feel safe. And that also benefits the Greens. It helps the NDP. It helps all these people. And like, we want a system that benefits the voters, not necessarily just us. Conservatives and Liberals want a system that benefits them.
So this kind of just, before we leave off, this kind of just goes into I wanted to explain why I think this Conservatives kind of need to be the next people in, because I feel like this is something I haven't really explained to people. I am not a Conservative. I don't like either party. I don't like the NDP. I don't like the Green Party. They have never, ever had something I felt was necessary. They always had a caveat. The reason I think the Conservatives need to be in the next election is purely to showcase how bad they will do it. We've had when the Liberals started, we were so young as like millennials. Gen X were just starting to vote. Millennials were just starting to vote. Like, they were just starting to understand the politics system right at the dawn of the internet, when people were actually getting information and people were getting, for lack of a better term, propagandized into who's doing what. We have not seen, as young people, a conservative government doing anything. They have been the bad guy. That's all we've ever known from them. I think they need to get into the system, fuck up so badly that we need to just be like, we as a people start looking and being like, okay, what is our other option? Like, seriously, how do we fix this? And that's the only reason I vote Conservative right now, is because I think we need to be let down one more time before we're willing to look at ourselves and say, okay, what's our actual problem here?
So my video today that I put out, because again, I put out a video every day on social media, about 1.5 to 2 minutes, for those who don't know. Every Wednesday, it's about attacking Conservatives, about whatever, because every week there's something to attack them. Same thing Mondays is Liberals. So I don't play favorites. I attack both of them equally every week. I actually pointed out something today that I've known for a while, and I had this, my best man at my wedding works for the UCP in Alberta. So I have people, like I said, I've gone through. So, and we still talk regularly, and we had this conversation, and I said, you realize who is the most fiscally conservative finance minister of the last 30 years in our time? Actually, probably 40 years. His name is Paul Martin. If you look at the numbers, the Liberal finance minister, who later became the prime minister after Chrétien, was far more fiscally conservative than anyone under Mulroney and anyone under Harper. Harper is one of the worst conservatives we've ever had as a thing. He is the example of why we don't need another conservative government. And that's what I'm hammering to people. Like Mulroney, people talk about like, oh, Garrett's talking about he wants to cut the taxes. Mulroney gave us the GST. It was Mulroney who gave it to us, not the Chrétien and the Liberals. Like, there was a big deal because the Liberals ran on getting rid of it. That's how they won the election. And when they didn't, Sheila Copps and Hamilton resigned, then got reelected with a better, more popular because of it, because she actually stood up and said, you know what? I said I would resign if we didn't do it. We didn't do it. I'm resigning. I respect that. later on learn a lot more about Sheila Cobs-Intel, but that's another story. I respected that. And like I said, I can respect people for individual decisions, but it we just need people to realize that the conservatives have already fucked up so much. They have done it. They've done it every time. The conservatives and the liberals are the only two parties that have ever held power in this country, and it's never gotten better. They play off of each other, and that's all it is. That's all they want to do. They only want to play off of each other. The PPC, they act like us, but they're not us because
I hate
I
Max
hammered
so
them.
much.
Well, it took them a couple days to start getting back at me, but I've been hammering them since Saturday when we started hammering about Bill C-34. They've been quiet. They're like, oh,
Mhm.
well, we actually said it when the original. I don't care about the original. They are putting it as a bill now. This is when it matters that we need to be talking about this. We need people to realize this is not protecting our children. This is not going to do what it says it's doing. It's only going to lead to a digital ID. It's only going to lead to what Carney wants. It's going to lead to more control. The fact that you guys are waiting for your lawyers to create a statement that doesn't offend anybody tells me you don't believe in your principles. I have stood up for what I believe in because it's what I believe in. It's not about what I think will get me elected. And that's what I tell people. Like, if I wanted to get elected tomorrow, I could put on a blue tie and get elected as a conservative easily. I could do it. I don't because I don't believe in it. And that's what it comes down to, is that I literally believe in what I'm saying. And it's
Yeah.
not a matter of I believe in some fantasy. People think that I believe in a utopia as a libertarian. I don't. I believe in fairness. I don't believe everyone's going to benefit under a libertarian government. People don't benefit now.
Yeah.
That's like, I just want fairness. If everyone is going to, if there's always going to be someone at the bottom and always going to be someone at the top, regardless of what system we have, at least have a fair system that makes it so that no one is stopping you from your opportunity to get to the top. Because there's so many opportunities for people to trade. And like, if people talk about loblaws, right? The monopoly, the oligarchy, whatever you fancy word people want to use to make them sound like evil. If the government allowed you to go to your local farm here in Niagara, which we have so many great farms, as you would know in Niagara, is that you could just go buy the fruits. You know how much money you'd save? They don't have to pay. They're not forced to take. There's regulations that say they have to give so much to this corporation because it's going for the greater good for Ontario. Product of Ontario seal, where prices would come way down if all of a sudden people were like, oh, they're not going to come to our store. They can go to the actual farm itself. We got farms all over this country. That's a bad thing for our grocery stores. So if you just allowed that competition instead of protecting the evil corporations, the corporations aren't evil anymore. That's why everyone talks about corporations.
Yeah.
They're evil because the government lets them. That's it.
Cronyism.
Yeah. Anything that people will say, everything that someone says is bad about capitalism or bad about this world, I will always bring it back to that one thing. It's the government's fault. And I can always tell you why.
Very fair. And just to enlighten our audience, there is a guy out in BC. His name is Gavin or Gagan. Gagan. He is doing just that, working with farms to come together, bring in farmers markets, like unregulated farmers markets, so that they can sell product to individuals at lower prices. And he requires you sell them lower than you do in the store. He's doing great work out there, but he's getting the shaft with everything that's going on legally. So look up him if you can. And just for our audience, who are you? Where are you at? And any final words that you want to impart?
So, Derek Elliott. I am the leader of the Libertarian Party of Canada. You can find me on pretty much every social media. I am on Mastodon, even. I am on Blue Sky. I take the abuse on Blue Sky. I have no problem doing that, being a libertarian there. X, Facebook. If you search Derek Elliott Libertarian, you're probably going to find me on most of those social medias. I just will leave us on one thing. The government hates competition. It's that simple. That's what they do. They hate competition. Ask yourself why.
I like that we're leaving it off on a question of asking just for clarity, I think, is the biggest thing people need to do. And
Yeah.
to everybody out there, I'll make sure everything's down in the link or in the comment section down below. Please like, subscribe, comment, all the bullshit I'm supposed to tell you. And to everybody out there, thank you for listening and stay weird.